Fearless and truthful.
Provocative and controversial.
We say it like it really is.
With dignity and respect.
Committed to free speech and common sense.
Upbeat and entertaining.
Straight talking and direct.
We may agitate each other and you.
Thought-provoking, provocative and controversial.
Hello and welcome to The Pledge. Now, we would normally start the show with a joke, a light-hearted gag poking fun at something amusing that's happened this week. But this week, British politics is teetering on the brink of collapse. The Prime Minister narrowly survived being ousted by her own party, while the vote on her Brexit deal was cancelled to spare the government an embarrassing defeat. Crisis, chaos, uncertainty reign supreme. So, frankly, there's not much to laugh about. But what we can try to do is at least provide a bit of clarity and work out what the hell is going on. Although, looking at this lot, I'm not sure about our chances. Coming up on the programme, Greg plays the blame game over Brexit. Afua wants a bit of inspiration from our leaders. Majid thinks more can be done to tackle racism, and can I say I like your sweater, even if it does make you look a bit of Jean-Claude Juncker. And Michelle calls for restraint. But remember this.
Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
The Prime Minister perhaps at her tone-deaf worst during an ill-starred general election campaign last year. Fast forward 18 months and guess what? We find ourselves precisely at the same place as nothing has changed. Theresa May still doesn't have the maths to get her current deal past the House of Commons. Far from being flushed out, the Conservative plotters are seething and point to the high number of her own who wanted to dump her. The country's no closer to a deal than it was 2.5 years ago, and Brussels presumably looks on with a mixture of bewilderment and sympathy. Actually, one thing has changed. The PM cannot be challenged, by her own at least, for 12 months. This Remain vote for her means she won't leave, and the plotters are seen as little more than the gang that can't shoot straight. Mrs May has taken us one day closer to leaving the EU, but we still have no idea of precisely how. Lame duck for Christmas, anyone?
You know, Michelle and I often wear quite bright colours on this show.
Oh, right.
And I've noticed that today we both showed up in black, and I wonder why. I think we're mourning at the state of our democracy. Well, I can't speak for you, Michelle, but I certainly am.
What's particularly got your goat?
Well, my favourite tweet, actually, this week came from Alistair Burt, who's a government minister, who said, after the apocalypse, all that will be left are cockroaches and Tories infighting over the state of their leadership, which I think is spot on. It was Tories fighting over Europe that got us into this mess. It's Tories fighting over Europe that is continuing to hold the entire country hostage to this completely farcical politics. And, you know, I have to say, I feel very mixed emotions right now because I have no love for Theresa May in terms of her policy. I think that she's not a politician that who I've ever felt supportive of. But I can't help but pity her because she is doing an impossible job.
Is that a good look for a Prime Minister
it's not a good look, but for somebody to make me feel pity for her is actually quite an achievement. And I think it just says something about the way that her party is behaving. You know, she's doing something impossible. It's impossible because the Brexit that was offered is not deliverable. Nobody is happy. This is the most unity I feel. Brexiteers are upset, Remainers are upset. Everybody feels betrayed, and she's trying to make sense of this, and they're just busy continuing to stab her in the back. And even having won the vote of no confidence, they haven't stopped.
From one woman in black to the other woman in black. Michelle?
I just think I feel really disappointed with what's going on. And I watched Theresa May in PMQs this week, and I was astonished that she still seems to have a sense of humour. I thought she did a really good performance. And I am so surprised that she is still there. I'm astonished that she hasn't, just turned around and... No, I don't mean in the confidence vote. I knew she would win that. I'm talking about, irrespective of that, I'm surprised that she still, as a person, wants to put herself through this. Because I was expecting her to have gone, do you know what, enough. You lot think you can do a better job? Go do a better job. I have found the way that the backstabbing, the bullying, the infighting. I think it's absolutely shocking and disappointing, and we'll move on in the programme to talk about why people don't feel passion and all the rest of it in the leaders that we've got today. Politics in this country is letting all of us down, and I think there's so many people that should be ashamed of themselves right now.
It's called the Conservative Party,
On the
and it's been. And the truth is,
it's not just the Tories.
No, but it is. But the Tories should have split 20 years ago. Over Europe. It's the fundamental issue of our time, and if a political party is so divided as they are, they should have split. There should be two parties there. One is a Remainer party, and one would have been a Brexit party. And that they failed to do that means what happened this week is inevitable.
Yes. Majid, I want to bring you in, but first, and I have to warn the viewers there, this does contain flash photography. This is Mrs May speaking outside Downing Street after she triumphed in the vote.
We now need to get on with the job of delivering Brexit for the British people and building a better future for this country. A Brexit that delivers on the vote that people gave, that brings back control of our money, our borders and our laws, that protects jobs, security and the union, that brings the country back together rather than entrenching division. That must start here in Westminster, with politicians on all sides coming together and acting in the national interest.
Majid, they talk about the Maybot, the automaton. I mean, I saw you watching. Indeed, all of us rolled our eyes. That's not really what you need to hear, that same script, is it?
Well, no, and especially the conflation of the use of the word national interest to basically mean what she thinks is good for the rest of us as opposed to what the country agrees on. And the country doesn't agree. That's the point. So I don't know, beyond uniting behind her as a person, what is it we're meant to be uniting behind? There's no vision, there's no leadership being shown. Perhaps, actually, though, I've got to say, it did probably suit her that this confidence motion was called prior to her deal being rejected in Parliament. Well, who wants to be leader with that spectre still looming of having to pass whatever deal they agree with the
Greg,
European
I said
Union?
they were the gang that can't shoot straight, is that right?
Well, there is a conspiracy theory around about all this.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I quite like the theory, which basically said, actually, Mrs May's lot ensured that there was a vote this week, that they actually put in enough letters themselves to make sure...
To get that out of the way. Yeah.
And that she's got some sort of deal from Europe, and that she doesn't want to... And then she gets this out of the way, she comes back with her deal, and there'll be more inclined
Well, if you think
to
about it, she goes to Brussels and they say, what assurance do we have after your deal passes we're dealing with the same person afterwards to deliver on the pledges? And on top of that, who would want to be leader and still have that problem?
Yeah. Let's get Afua back in. I'm really going to tee up an open goal for you here. What strikes me is this is a woman who is not going to be allowed to lead the Conservative Party in the future, but she can lead the country at this crisis, at this constitutional time. I mean, that is a strange decision for the Tories to take, is it not?
I have to say, I really am curious as to what drives her personally, because she's no longer got... she's pledged not to run again in 2022, so it's not that she sees this long-term future as leader. She's confined herself to this horrific period of unwinnable mayhem, and it is curious what would make someone want to put themselves through that. I just want to show you what somebody who would like to be the leader at this moment has said. This is Jeremy Corbyn saying that the Prime Minister has lost her majority in Parliament, her government is in chaos, she is unable to deliver a Brexit deal that works for the country and puts jobs and the economy first. It's clear that she has not been able to negotiate the necessary changes in Europe. She must now bring her dismal deal back to the House of Commons next week so Parliament can take back control.
Yes, of course, he wants to be leader of the country, not leader. Yeah, leader.
He doesn't want to be leader of the
That's
Conservative
right, but he's all Prime Minister.
Things haven't gone that haywire yet.
That's what he said. Yeah, Majid.
Though he is pro-Brexit, kind of, right? So look at some of the chaos within the Conservative Party. I'm going to pick up on this, but this is Anna Soubry and Robert Buckland.
She's not changing.
Well, that's
it's
what
more
tell
of the
me why she
same.
hasn't.
It's more of the trotting out of the lines, the rhetoric, the empty rhetoric. It's not going to win, Robert. Robert, you have to convince people like me to change the way that I'm going to vote. And these lines will not change it. Let me finish, please. You have Jeremy Corbyn...
This is time for compromise, not for people taking artificial positions and looking for Nirvana. Anna, it doesn't exist.
But
this is the real world. Get on with it.
What's your way out?
Back to Prime Minister. Get on with it.
Mr Buckland, you're also fighting on several fronts here, aren't you? It's not just Anna Soubry on that side, it's the DUP and the ERG, as we heard.
Hang on, and all the opposition won't vote for it. So what is your plan? There isn't one.
Now, that is pretty much a civil war within the Conservative Party. Though, to your point, it is very embarrassing. To your point, though, Greg, I'm not so sure that if Labour were in this position, say, for example, the government collapsed and Corbyn took over, that it would be any different.
Well, I don't think Labour's got that many Brexiteers.
What's Labour going to do, Greg?
What are they going to do? They're going to keep quiet, which is what they've been doing all the way through.
Well, they can't win a vote now because the Scots won't vote for it.
And when the other lot, when you're the governing party is in disarray and trying to kill each other, you just sit back and let it happen.
You've been looking at one of the arch plotters, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Jacob Rees-Mogg. Let's look at his verdict after this vote.
It's a very bad result for the Prime Minister. That if you think 163 Conservative MPs are on the payroll, they're ministers, PPSs, vice chairman of the party, trade envoys, and therefore of the non-payroll, of backbenchers, the Prime Minister lost really very heavily. And I think the Prime Minister should resign. She cannot get her deal through, her very bad, unsatisfactory withdrawal agreement, which is not supported by the DUP, by many Conservatives or by the opposition. And having failed in her main plank of policy, it would be constitutionally normal for her to retire from the fray.
I don't mind admitting, I used to quite like him. I know,
You lost Greg there.
I know. But I'm starting to feel very uncomfortable with him and his narrative, and he's lost me, I will be honest. And all this stuff about 163 people have to vote for him. No one has to vote for Theresa May, because it's all secret. You can say you've done it and not do it in the first place. I just...
I am curious about Greg's conspiracy theory, though, and how many, I would love to know the breakdown of that vote. How many of her own people did it deliberately to get it out the way now? How many men voted against her versus women, I would like to know.
What is interesting about Rees-Mogg, I think, is that he's now saying that basically she got 63% of the vote, but that's not adequate.
I know what you're going to say.
Well, hang on, what about 52%?
How
come 52% of the vote is OK, but 63% isn't? And I think he is the biggest loser this week.
Yes.
He is the biggest loser. He built an image of himself, all built up week after week after week, and suddenly it's gone.
Where does that leave us? Where does that leave us?